Okay, we're outside now. Now let's have a run over here with the car that we're going to be dealing with. And that would be Proton Satria GTi. Handling by Lotus. And it's a pretty clean little example of it too. And that's me. And of course, Tiger's already been here. Alright, let's get inside the interior. That's what we've got to deal with. Now the good thing with these model Protons is that your main head unit only comes up to about here. It's a double din face, but actually a single din head unit. So that'll mean that there's a little bit of a cavity over here, which is just for, you know, for cosmetics, that it's been covered up, and also for button purposes. Now that's going to be an easy fix with replacing it with that unit. Now if we're going to be left with a void underneath, best way to fill that is, don't forget the drink holder. Now the good thing with this particular unit from AirPro is that it also has a it's got a small little pocket there with the 3.5mm auxiliary lead for MP3 players or for iPods or what have you. So that is that void filled up. So that'll cover all that section there, so then that's sorted. Now moving on to our speakers. Obviously these aren't the factory components. These shiny blue numbers have been put in by the previous owner. So what we can do with these is we can flush mount the tweeters in here somewhere and make a provision for them, and then you've got your main mid-bass driver which is going in there, which is the Infinity reference speakers going up front. Now we move to the back, and that's going to be where our Kicker KX mid-bass drivers are going to be going. Now in order for me to access that panel, these little grills over here can be ripped out via a flathead screwdriver. They just pop out. But in order for us to create a proper mounting plate for the Kicker driver, we essentially need to take all that out. So that's going to be a little bit of work. That's the least of my concerns though. My main concern is where the rest of this is going to go. You've got 2 amps and 3 subs to fit. So, in the model that I prepared earlier, and yes, you can tell that she is Dutch and was obviously very upset come World Cup time. This is a plan that I had for the stereo install. So, we can have the back ends facing out, which is inverted, or we could have it flush mounted and sitting like that, but obviously all 3 turned over. So we can have it that way. Now to make all this stuff fit, what I was essentially thinking was, underneath that section there is a tyre wall which she no longer has a need for. We can build a tyre wall enclosure with fiberglass, and then with that we can build that up to a flat floor panel, and then build up the floor with let's say 120mm high battens, which we can then fix to the existing floor, and then we can sit one more floor on top where we can fit these subs and these amps to, and then a small plate goes over the top of it and dresses it up nice, and also acts as a protection or a cover, so that way she can still use her boot. Now essentially the level of the boot floor will probably come to about there. At worst case scenario, there. Our issue with this, which is what you need to take into consideration, is one, is going to be protruding around areas where they need access to strut towers, or more so, their indicator or their tail light access point. So I'll need to make this install very friendly for them to still get access to the rear tail lights. Otherwise, it's pretty much worthless. So, with all those factors into consideration, I can now design the rest of the layout, figure out what materials that I need, which would be a lot of MDF, a lot of carpet, such as all these sheets around here, There's these lining up against there, so I'm not going to be running short of wood anytime soon. You've got your choices of 16mm or 18mm MDF. On this instance I'm going to be using good old 16.5mm. This will pretty much compose her sub box enclosure, and the 12mm stuff, which is over here, can dress up the rest of the panel work that's required in the boot. And these here are your battens, so they're about 120mm wide. Now there's a little trick with these things which I might show you later, which can enable you to keep the thickness of the wood and use it around curved spots, and that'll be to make incisions at about 10mm each way down, and essentially the incisions are only going to come up to about there, so that way you can maintain some sort of integrity up front here and still keep your shape on the outside and be able to mold it on this side. So that's good. I think we're just about ready to start this install. So day one is going to be the head unit, the speakers, and the rest of the wiring. Day two is going to be the sub and the amp. So from this point on, let's go have some fun.